homegrown SUVs that are vying for the attention of the EV buyers in India. And we are here to find out which one you should buy.
So I have the Tata Nexon EV Max.
And I have the Mahindra XUV400.
So let's get on with it.
Because at the end of this video, you will have the answer as to who is the clear winner.
Since its launch, the Nexon EV has been well received, and 50,000 units plying on the roads is a testament to the popularity of the car. And with the EV Max, Tata Motors is going to try and strengthen that even further.
Of course, the Nexon EV Max is the more expensive one over the standard version, but what you get with it is a larger battery pack, more features and even greater range.
Now I know Pratik must be going on and on about how popular the Nexon EV is. And he's not wrong, because the Nexon EV is pretty popular. And the kind of sales that it has managed, it is commendable for a car, an electric car at that price point. But the XUV400 is not bad either. Look at that table on your screen right now. You'll see that it's taller, it's wider, and it's longer than the Nexon EV. Now, the wheelbase too is more than the Nexon EV, which basically means there's more space on the inside. All that said, the XUV400 does make a kind of a statement on its own. Because you know what, even when it comes to design, it looks butcher, it looks more muscular, and it looks more aggressive than the Nexon EV. The upright stance really brings out the SUV-ness out of it. And that's what you want from an SUV, right? In that segment. Well, that's pretty good.
So clearly, camps are divided. I am rooting for the XUV400 and Pratik for the Nexon EV Max. As both are driving these SUVs, it's the performance too that matters to the customers. So, how are they to drive?
As the name suggests, the EV Max comes with a larger battery pack. So with this car, you get a 40.5 kilowatt hour battery pack with LFP cells. So this together develops close to 140 brake horsepower and about 250 Newton meters of peak torque. Along with this, you also get 4 regen modes. Yes, there is also an option to completely turn off that regen mode. And apart from that, you also get 3 driving modes. There's Eco, there's City, and then there is the more performance-oriented Sport mode. Off the mark, there is no lag, there is no hesitation with the pickup of the EV Max. I'm driving on level 3 regen mode with Eco because we've been shooting the entire day and I want to preserve that battery range to quite some extent before we can wrap this up and head to a charging station. So that also helps me understand this car better because of course in city and eco mode that output, that throttle output is limited, but that is not the case when you're driving in sport mode because that's when you get all that torque just punching right through and gives you a very pleasurable driving experience. Having said that, what I really don't like about this car is its suspension setup. Of course, the car has added weight, 100 kilograms to be precise, because of that larger battery pack. So Tata has also tuned the suspension accordingly. And what has happened because of that is that the suspension is a bit bouncy, especially when you're going over bumpy or even uneven undulations. So rear passengers are obviously going to have some issues on longer journeys, but it's not a deal breaker. But what is this steering wheel, because on lower speeds it is quite dull, and on higher speeds you feel that it's not exactly precise to the kind of input that you would want when you're going into corners or even when you're driving on the highway. I would have preferred a firmer grip on the steering wheel.
Now the XUV400 has a 39.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, which punches out 149 brake horsepower. That's more than the Nexon EV. It also has driving modes which go completely from fun to completely ballistic. It's a good mix of city plus highway driving that you can do on this car, and you start appreciating it the more you drive it. Even the bumps on the road, it takes it in its stride. Even the bigger bumps on the road, you take it in its stride, and you know that it's not going to affect the battery that is underneath the car because there is good enough protection there for it. Having said all of that, the XUV400 stands out in the ride and handling department because, as I said, it takes in all the potholes in its strides. Plus, when you're on plain tarmac and there is even uneven tarmac, it just manages to really give you a better ride quality because the suspension setup is managed that way. And overall, in a sense, the lateral movement inside too is very much in check. So if you go to see, the XUV400 really puts up a very good show when it comes to driving and also when it comes to the power that it has to offer.
From an engineering standpoint, both are great. But here's where our thoughts are divided. Definitely, the Nexon EV Max has a better looking cabin. The floating touchscreen adds a nice touch, while ventilated seats, wireless charging, auto hold, and an inbuilt air purifier add a class of modernity. But then again, the seating position and the overall ergonomics take some time to get used to. The XUV400's cabin is very outdated. In fact, it's similar to what you see on the XUV300. There are connected car features on offer, but there's no wireless charging, ventilated seats, or even a larger infotainment system. But ergonomically, the buttons are very well placed. In cars such as these, the rear seat and the boot space matters too.
In terms of dimensions, the Nexon EV Max is of course slightly more inferior to the XUV400, but that does not mean that there is not enough space for the rear passengers. Of course, you cannot adjust 3 adults, probably 2 adults and 1 child can fit in the rear seat, but you get a nice amount of knee room. There's also decent amount of under thigh support and just barely some headroom. For reference, I am 5'9", so I am feeling quite comfortable. But the only issue is considering that the car is not wide enough, so you don't get ample amount of shoulder room. So obviously, if you have passengers on your side, your shoulders will rustle to each other, so that might get uncomfortable on longer journeys. But apart from that, the seats are quite cushiony, they're quite comfortable. But what the Nexon EV Max misses out on is USB slots. You do get AC vents, but there are no charging ports for the rear passengers. Well, moving to the boot of the Nexon EV Max, you get 350 liters. It has a better loading lip. You can obviously adjust quite a few suitcases. I am guessing a few 3 to 4, probably medium size or small size suitcases will easily adjust here. And also I need to point out that the fact that I told that there's no USB slot or charging slot in the second row, what Tata has smartly done is that they've provided a 12-volt port over here, which is basically between your boot and the rear passenger. So that is quite smart, and also, you know, kind of saves up space.
Well, considering that the XUV400 is longer, there is more space at the back. 378 litres is what it has to offer, 28 litres more than the Nexon EV, which basically means you have more space to keep your luggage, especially comes in handy when you go out for those weekend journeys, those short trips that you do in an electric vehicle. Bags such as these, there might be 4 or in fact 5 that can easily fit in here, which makes it better and spacious. But what about the rear seat room? We'll check that out too. Well, the space at the back is not bad because I get decent amount of knee room and there's good amount of headroom as well on offer. Plus, I sit in a more upright fashion, which gives me more space for the shoulders too. And because of this large glass area right here, I get good amount of airiness or spaciousness, so to say. And yes, there are 3 people who can easily sit here. I don't see a problem. But there are some features lacking, which are as clear as daylight. One is no AC vents at the back, especially in this heat. You don't get it, and you don't get a charging cable or charging socket at all here, and that's where probably this lags behind the Nexon EV.
On the safety front, the Nexon is far ahead because of its 5-star global NCAP safety rating. And that was expected because it is based on the same platform as the regular Nexon. The electric SUV comes with a bunch of standard safety features such as ESP traction control, hill ascent and descent assists, ISOFIX child seat mounts and reverse parking assist. There are also more than 40 connected car features on offer. The XUV400 gets a host of safety features but misses out on ESP. It however gets 6 airbags in the top end variant, while the Nexon gets only 2. There are a number of ways to charge up the Nexon EV Max. A 7.2 kilowatt home charger can charge from 0 to 100% in 6.5 hours. Even any 15 amp socket can do the same in about 15 hours, while a 50 kilowatt DC fast charger can juice up from 20 to 80% within an hour. In the case of the XUV400, the car can be juiced up with a 3.3 kilowatt charger in 13 hours, while the larger capacity 7.2 kilowatt charger can charge the EV in 6.5 hours. A DC fast charger takes 50 minutes to charge the car from 10 to 80%. As you can see, the XUV400 is slightly cheaper than the Tata Nexon EV Max. However, it is important to note that the XUV400 has a smaller battery pack, but the range is almost the same. We drove both cars for equal number of kilometers, and the range, though similar, 453 kilometers for the Nexon EV Max and 456 kilometers for the XUV400, needs to be taken with a pinch of salt because reaching the 200 kilometer mark was a struggle for both. As we said, there has to be one clear winner in this battle. So whose vote has swayed in which direction?
Not mine.
Well, mine has, and I've got good reasons for it. Well, the XUV400 just feels right. I mean, it has compact dimensions, but there's ample amount of space for all the passengers, especially the rear passenger, which the Nexon EV Max misses out on. Then there's also the talk about the ride quality and the suspension, which I felt was way more superior on the XUV400.
But you know what? Let's not take things away from the Nexon EV because it has a lot going its way. It has the first mover advantage, and that's the biggest asset it has because there are a lot more people who have bought the car. They have substantial amount of consumers, which Pratik has already spoken about. Feature list is massive because on paper there's so much more it has to offer, and there's no one in this segment that offers more features than the Nexon EV. But then again, it's just about the driving experience and all of that put together. And the XUV400 clearly achieves that. Now, yes, it has the outdated cabin, and that has been Mahindra's Achilles heel. But that has not stopped the XUV400 from winning this duel. And so, the clear winner of this duel is the Mahindra XUV400, which Pratik has clearly buzzed off with.